to my channel, Learning Science with Michelle. Today we are going to look at plants, and we're going to talk about how do plants actually get their nutrients. Well, first of all, plants have several parts. They have roots, which are down in the bottom of the soil. They have stems, where nutrients travel through, and they have leaves, and some plants have flowers. Well, in order for plants to live and to survive, they have to get nutrients. And the way they get nutrients is through what we call xylem tissue. Xylem tissue is the water transportation system that carries water through the roots up to the stems and to the leaves. And as the water is flowing up into the plant, it is also carrying those nutrients that the plant needs in order to survive. So what are xylem tissues? Xylem tissues are these little tube-like spores that are within the actual stem of the plant. And those little tubes, they're like million little tubes that just kind of take that water and just draws it up. And it is a slow process because if you've ever watered a plant, you'll notice that the water, the soil will absorb some, of course, and then you don't want to put too much water because then, of course, you're going to give the plant too much water. But when you put that water in there, it slowly moves up the xylem tube, which we call the capillary system, and as it goes up, it eventually gets to the leaves. Well, when it does get to the leaves actually evaporate the water, and so that system continues to carry on. Well, we can notice xylem tissue in wood. And so when you have a tree that's been cut down, you'll notice that there are rings around. And typically people tell us the number of rings tells us the age of the tree. And the reason why is because when you see the rings, those are dead xylem tissue. And so xylem tissue in the tree will last 1 year. After a year, it dies out and then new tissue forms, and then the next ring after that year it dies out will form. And so you can see all the rings on this piece of wood. We're going to do an investigation so that we can observe how xylem tissue actually absorbs water and carries it through the plant up through its leaves and gives it its nutrients. You will need some water, celery, food coloring, paper towels, and even a plastic knife. You're going to take your celery, and I'm going to suggest you get a celery stalk, which is going to be the full stalk with the leaves, so that you can see the full process. I only have a piece of celery. You can take your celery, just cut the end off a little because sometimes it'll dry out at the ends, but cut the end off, and then you're going to take the food coloring that you would like, the color. We're going to put a few drops of red. And just stir that food coloring around with the spoon. Next, you're just going to put your celery in the water. You want to let it stand up in the water. Now, remember I said that this is a slow process. That means that you want it to sit at least for 3 hours before you check. And then you will see some of the food coloring water move up the stem of your celery stalk. If you notice this one that I've been doing, you can see how it's starting to move up. Now this one has been sitting for at least 30 minutes. The longer you let it sit, the farther up you're going to see it go up. So if you have a full celery stalk, you're going to let it sit for 24 hours so that you can see it get all the way to the end of the leaves. You can observe every few hours to see if you see any changes, and then you can make note of your observation as you're recording to see how your celery absorbs the food-colored water. So, how do plants get their nutrients? Well, they get it through what we call the capillary system. That capillary system has the xylem tissue. The xylem tissue absorbs that water and carries it up through the roots, the stems, the leaves, and the flower of the plant. Well, thank you for joining me today, and I look forward to seeing you next time on my channel, Learning Science with Michelle.